You have a child come in that can't sit still in their chair and they don't know the right hand from their left hand, and they emerge from a program refined and well put together with the ability to focus well, and they have been groomed to be a good member of society.
So Denise, how do you approach your methods in teaching?
Well, it really depends on the child. It's the student that's coming in, because you'll have some students that want to come in just for a little guidance and direction, and then they go and they do their own thing and grow on their own, which is perfectly fine. And then you have other students that come in, they have a performance or they have a career that they're trying to pursue, and they want some coaching and some guiding. The most common student, though, that I see come through our doors is the student that is really looking for music education. But I think a lot of times parents don't know that that's what they're looking for. Families don't know, especially if their child is very green or they've never had music education before. They'll come in and say, I want piano lessons, I want voice lessons, but they don't really understand what that means. And so as the teacher, we have to assess them. We have to take time to look at them, because a music coach is completely different than a music teacher.
Oh, how so?
So a music teacher really goes in and has a curriculum. They have years of lesson plans and ways to connect the child to music. It's a more solid education. It's something that really requires a lot of consistency, and it's something, we always want students, the younger they are, the more success that we have, right? So we're going in and we are assessing them continuously. We're collecting data on them. We are tailoring curriculum and lessons to that child or that student to make sure that they're growing. And you have a child come in that can't sit still in their chair and they don't know the right hand from their left hand, and they emerge from a program refined and well put together with the ability to focus well, and they have been groomed to be a good member of society, right? So,
Yes.
but then on the other hand, you have a child or a family that gets with a coach. Well, the coach is going to do a completely different thing. And so, for instance, if a child comes in and they say, oh, I want to sing this song, Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys. And the coach is going to say, okay. And they're going to press play on the karaoke or the instrumental. And they're going to say, okay, sing me your song. And they're going to sing it. And they might say, good job, you're singing so good. You're a little bit pitchy on that part. What the coach is expecting for a student who is coming in for coaching is that the child already has a music education, that they already have a foundation, right? So when they say that's a little pitchy, it doesn't break the child's heart. It's like, oh, how about a measure 5? You were singing an A and you should have been singing a C, right? So, but I think sometimes when parents are looking for their child to be exposed to music, they jump right to a coach. And then the coach takes them in and does this kind of coaching. And a lot of times it breaks the child. It turns the child off from music. And the coach gets frustrated with the student as well, because they can only take that student so far. I mean, how many songs can you sing to karaoke? And for instance, if you're singing, this girl is on fire, right? If a child comes in and they're out of tune and have a weak voice, this girl is on fire.
Yeah.
How do you coach that?
So what is your approach if they're having blatant problems from the beginning to a piece or to an exercise that they are currently performing?
Yeah, so if I have a student that comes in and they pull out a song and they can barely squeak the notes out, I assess that, and that's what I do in my assessment. As I look, if there's a song that they're trying to sing and their range is not strong enough or wide enough for them to be able to hit those notes,
Yeah.
I say, you're not ready for coaching. You need a you need to get into music education. We need to teach you how to read your notes. We need to teach you how to use your body as an instrument first.
So when you say assessment, is there a first time consultation that you're doing with them? Do you even take every child or every potential student that comes through your doors?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of time in the medical field and working a lot in more of a support to therapy. And so I kind of take the same approach when I'm working with a student. I don't just bring someone in just to say, oh, let's come on and let me take your money. I really bring that student in and I look at the whole person. I'm looking at their posture. I'm looking at their attention span. I'm looking at their music experience. Can they read notes yet? Can they read rhythms? Can they read pitch? I'm looking at their range. I'm looking at their neck when they sing, their throat, their shoulders, their hips, all of these pieces. And then from there, I decide this student has been trained enough to be able to start working on repertoire and start performing, or I look and I see this student needs some therapeutic supports. We need to take more of a voice therapy approach. Or I look at that student and I say they need a music education.
Okay, interesting. That's a very fascinating approach. So is there a rubric of some sort? I know vocal coaches, you don't see them out there with a rubric at all.
No, there's more like, hey, repeat after me. Hey! And the child's shouting and damaging their voice, trying to copy what that coach is doing. And that coach probably had a little classical training, but they might not have, the credentials and the degrees and the experience.
Absolutely.
To be asking children to perform in this way. So, what was your question again?
If there was a rubric.
Oh, yeah, so a rubric, yes.
Or any kind of metrics that you take.
Absolutely, yeah, we take metrics on their pitch. We take metrics, we actually have, visuals that students can see, that teachers and students can see visuals where we can look and see at what point, because obviously music teachers, we've spent years training our ears, so we can hear when the pitch is on and when it's off, but the student has not had their ear trained yet, and so they don't know. So we use a lot of things that are visual, so that way they can gauge and they can see for themselves where their skill level is. We do a lot of things with breath support, posture. I actually have a ruler, and I measure things to show progress, and it's a very involved process, and we're constantly collecting data, because when the student can see their own growth, then they start to realize, I'm investing time, I'm investing money, and I'm actually getting a return on my investment.
Is that the primary difference between the approach you take in your studio versus what other teachers, coaches do with their studio?
Yeah, I don't always like to compare my methods to somebody else, but I will say that, there are many coaches out there that they have industry experience, like they may have sung in community theater, they might have worked, in a little Broadway performance, or they might have a band that gigs and that sort of thing, so they have musical abilities and talents, and they might have even done a little extra studying here and there, but it's not a lesson in a curriculum and assessments, because for us in our studio, our teachers, we are fully credentialed, California credentialed music teachers. We have gone through the credential program. We have our master's in curriculum and instruction. We have 12 years, each of us have 12 years of experience in teaching in an actual classroom. And we've taught thousands and thousands of children, all types of learners, students with special needs, students who have been on IEPs, gifted and talented students. There's different approaches to all those types of learning that we need to do. And when you're in a classroom with 34 to 35 very different learners, you have to adapt, you have to adjust, and you have to make sure that your group is learning. So That's very different than what a coach experiences when they're on stage. Now, I do both. I have had experience in both. I've been both a performer and a teacher. And so when I coach a student, I still do a rubric and I still do tests and assessments. I don't just press play on a karaoke, or I don't just chord on the piano. I I work on things. I evaluate things, and I make sure that that child or that student is using the correct technique and the correct posture all the way through. So yeah, I mean, so a coach is a wonderful tool to have, but there are some coaches. Well, what I've done with my coaching program is that I usually just do a 4 to 8 week coaching program, because I feel like that's all that some students need, right? Like if they have been classically trained already, or if they have been a performer and they might have damaged their voice, or they've gotten into some bad habits, then they come to me and I help isolate the overfunctioning muscles and help them target the muscles that need to be strengthened. And we work on different techniques and we get them back up where they're supposed to be. And that doesn't really take a long time for those kind of students, because then that gets them going. Yeah. So it really just depends on where we're going. But I always recommend that if you have a young child, get them into music education, get them with a teacher that can assess them, that can use data, that can track their progress so that they can grow. You don't want them having gone to a coach for a year singing karaoke and repeating sounds of the coach, when all along they could have been learning to be true musicians and read music and learn more than one instrument. And that's what we do at our studio.
That's fascinating. Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you.